You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today we have back one of my favorite people in all of digital, Lauren Livak Gilbert. Yeah, it's so cool. Lauren is somebody who not only loves e-commerce and digital as much as I do, but loves people and connecting as much as I do. It's so cool.
And we have the same amount of energy, so it's really fun.
Yeah, and I know I want to keep this at 30 minutes, so hopefully we can, but usually these things go like an hour and a half, and then but it's not today. We're going to try to keep it tight.
Try and really hard.
Oh, really, really hard. And we are going to we're going to talk about the new e-commerce, digital, multi-channel, omnichannel organization of the future refinement. I don't know how to.
Can I tell you, everyone?
Send me a really cool
Aaron
the paper
title.
and all.
And he totally botched that.
Yeah. You said this was going to be, and it was over 3 words, and I'm like, I'm not going to remember it.
The Reinvented Omnichannel org of the future.
The reinvented. So take 2. Here we go. The Reinvented Omnichannel org of the future. Dun, dun, dun.
Here we are. It is the number one question I get asked about org structures, just in general. If I could pick any one thing for the past 5 years, the most asked question, what should my org look like? Where does e-commerce sit? Is it in sales and marketing? Like, how should I think about it? I get asked that question so often. So I decided, I was like, this is the time. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do the research. I interviewed over 33 brand leaders in multiple functions like supply chain, finance, legal, e-com, surveyed like almost 100 people. It was a really, really cool report.
And what'd you get out of it? Like, is there...
How much time you got?
I know, right? We might have to do 2. I just did a couple in a row with, again, I don't know if you listened to it, Will Nelson. We did it around Microsoft Copilot, and it was
that's a good one.
And we ended, I was like, okay, we have to cap this one. And then we had to do another one right after that. So maybe we'll end up doing 2. So what did you find out? Like, because I agree, I'm asked more on the sales and marketing overall strategy, not the org side, but more along what is the strategy? What is the new tech? Who are the new partners? Who's shaping the landscape? All that stuff. So I don't get asked as much about the org structure, but I know that question is out there consistently. So I am super curious. Like, what did you find?
Well, it's funny that you say, what did you find? Because what I actually found is that we're asking the wrong question.
Oh.
So a lot of people say, where should e-commerce sit in my org? Like, should it be in sales? Should it be in marketing? Do I need category management, shopper marketing? But actually, the question we should be asking is, how are we changing the way we do business to better match the way consumers shop? Because if you think about framing the question around where should e-commerce sit, you're just plugging something into a broader organization that wasn't built for e-commerce, right? If we think about kind of where we are from a industry standpoint, there's so many shifts that are going on. I mean, that could be a podcast in and of itself. But the really big ones that I really focused on that were kind of a catalyst for this were most large organizations were built around in-store. Fact, right? They've been around for 100, 150 years, 200 years. They were built for in-store. They're not built for online. They're not built for agentic commerce. The speed at which you need to keep up with commerce, they were also not built for. Last year, Amazon changed the requirements 244 times. Aaron, how many times do you change your in-store planogram if you're a brand?
Right.
Twice. Twice a year.
Yeah.
Weren't built for that, right?
Which is a crazy time, the planogram reset, right?
But it could be once a year, depending on your category, twice a year, maybe 3 times if it's depending on your category. 244 changes from Amazon just last year. I'm sure that will continue to increase. Those are really 2 really big changes. Also think about some of the smaller players that are coming in and beating the large big box brands, big brands. They're coming in and they're ankle biting, right? There's all these smaller players that are beating out some of those big names that you know. And then just the economic factors that we're going through, right? Like, you can't just add 15 more people to your e-commerce team. We would love to do that if you were a brand, but you just can't. It just doesn't work, right? So there's all these shifts that are going on, and everybody from a brand perspective is treating their org structure and the way they work the same as they always have been. And it's not working. And I think it's evident of that in terms of what we're seeing in terms of results.
Is it then, it doesn't matter where it sits as long as it sits with the entity that's the most adaptable, acceptable of failure, ready to change, try new things?
We didn't plan this, but that's a great question, Aaron. So the question is less about where it sits, because if you're thinking about it as a separate entity, then you're thinking about it wrong, right? If you're thinking about having a marketer and then you're having an e-commerce marketer, then you're keeping e-commerce away from the central work that you're doing. You want to have a marketer that knows omnichannel across the board. So it goes through stages of maturity. Let me say this. You might not start with a fully integrated omnichannel organization. You can't. You have to go through different models, right? So if you've seen the Profitero research that's out there around the types of org models that there are, so there's the sidecar model. So it starts with just a couple of people that are focused on e-commerce, like
crazy people in the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Then it moves to a COE model, which is a lot of different organizations have a COE model, and it's very successful. Then from there, it's an integrated model where you kind of integrate e-commerce back into the business. In my new report, I've added kind of a fourth dimension that I'm calling the reinvented org model, because the way that I positioned it is if you take e-commerce and integrate it back into the business, you're not changing anything. That broader business was built for in-store shopping. So you're trying to shove a round peg into a square hole, right? So you need to think about reinventing the way you're working. And what does that mean? It means changing the way you're thinking.
Because you just scared everybody.
I know, sorry.
Right? I think everybody's like, great. Hey, we can make it fit anywhere. Okay, we need new tools. We got it. Now completely change the way you're working. And everybody's like, oh, no, don't do it.
I'm glad you said that. So as I was writing this report, actually, it's funny you say that, because as I was coming up with like kind of the key tenets, I was like, I can't say that everybody just needs to break everything and start from scratch. And I'm not saying that, right? But there are some fundamental things that you need to think about. And depending on where you are in your maturity, you can decide what you want to start with. So in the report, there's 11 key tenets. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll kind of touch on maybe my top 3. Yeah. The first one being that you have to show up to your customers as one company. So if you're a brand and you're talking to your retailers, you're not supposed to show up as the retail media team, the broader business team. Maybe you're showing up just from like the supply chain team. You need to have one face when you're working with the retailers as a brand. You cannot have separate JBP conversations where the retail media team is signing up for something and the rest of the team doesn't know about it, and then you're spending too much money and you don't have it. One company. You are one brand, one company showing up to your retailer partners. You'll get more from them. You'll have more of an opportunity to be a partner with them, and you won't be promising dollars that you didn't talk to the digital shelf team about, or the retail media team didn't share with the broader sales team.
Do you see, I totally agree, 100% agree. Do you see then that who's expecting more from which side? Is the retailer expecting the brands to now show up and teach them more about the newest things that are coming along they want to do? Or is it the brand expecting the retailer?
It's a great question. So I would say the retailer is asking for more data from the brand than I've seen in the past, right? Because they want to understand, your category, your customers, like what are you seeing? Bring us data. The thing that we always hear, right, and is always popular, is the brand wants more data from the retailer. They want to know their return on ad spend. They want to know their ROI. They just want more data. But the retailers also want data too, because they know that the brands are experts in their space. What are they seeing? What are their customers doing? What can we test and learn together? So it's really a shift that it's more of a partnership. And I think we're feeling this on the retailer side. They're realizing that they need to be more partnered with the brands, and the brands need the retailers to be partners as well. Like, you're both in this together type of thing. So I would say if brands can provide more clarity, more data, and just make it easier for retailers to understand who they need to talk to. Think about a retailer working with a big brand. Are they talking to 15 people? It can be kind of confusing. Like, who makes the decision? Who am I talking to? Like, how are we working together? If you can map that out and be very clear, then you can actually work towards a shared goal and maybe do some testing and learning and help influence how they're thinking about their taxonomy. But you can't do that when you're talking to 25 different people.
Well, what does that then mean for like the Amazon side? Because I agree, the retailers are looking for a partnership now, right? Um, and brands are looking for more data. Amazon, I think, got on the forefront with the marketing cloud and being able to share data. The problem is they're not a partner with anybody really. Uh, and so what I found incredibly surprising is this huge push with Walmart. And I just had a whole thing on my newsletter on LinkedIn about like how much Walmart has changed Walmart Connect over the past year in sharing data, like first party data around being able to retarget and having self-serve display and all these other things where it's just incredibly, it's funny how the Amazon pendulum swings. We're all in on Amazon. Oh, we hate Amazon. We're all in on Amazon. And then, I mean, Walmart has, and the retailers have a really good opportunity, kind of what you're saying, to be able to really partner and get teams
100%.
all in. Because let's be real, there's more done in Walmart, right? That's where brands want to get to. They want to get into on store shelf, whether Walmart, Target, well, wherever it is.
I think the challenge is going to be the different size brands. So like the larger players who are prominent in their category, they're definitely going to have an easier time. But talk about like your kind of mid-market players or some of the smaller players that are trying to break in. I think the future of Amazon is that a lot of the negotiations or like the AVNs, the Amazon vendor negotiations, are going to be automated, right? So they're not going to have an opportunity to necessarily influence. So I don't know what that world looks like, but I think that Amazon is trying to automate as much as possible. And when you have smaller players or kind of mid-sized brands that are starting to break in, that's going to be a very different dynamic. And you need to understand how to work that system, not in a relationship way, right? It's a totally different way of approaching things if it's automated. So I think that future is definitely coming and they're moving towards that trend of more of an automated negotiation type of setting. But for the bigger players, I think it'll always be a conversation.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. So that's
Point
one.
two.
Number two, shared goals. And I think this is like the soapbox I will stand on for my entire life and my entire career. Shared goals. If you have a marketing team that has one metric that is not in any way connected to the sales team, or you don't have a broad e-commerce goal that both sales and marketing are marching towards, you are trying to do separate things and you're not working towards the same end goal. So you're actually fighting against each other. And the way that organizations are set up today is in a functional siloed model. They are siloed within their function to create a specific end goal for that function. They are not holistically brought together. So having shared goals enables everybody to move towards the same North Star. So say you want to reach, I don't know, making this up, 15% e-commerce sales in the next 5 years. Okay, every single person that touches that needs to have that in their goals and objectives. What gets measured gets managed. And what I love so much about my research is I can finally show data around this, that those that had shared goals had higher e-commerce sales overall. There was a strong correlation. There was a correlation between shared goals and higher e-commerce sales.
It seems so simple though, right? Like,
but it's really hard to execute. It's really hard to execute. But you have to have leadership buy-in who understands it, and then you have to implement it.
yeah, I mean, it does make sense why it's difficult, right? Because we did for the longest time, everything, sales, marketing, new business development, everything in there. It was so simple. And then you throw in e-commerce, you
And it
throw
goes
in
across.
COVID and all the changes. And then, yes, you're trying to bring in your little sidecar, right?
Exactly.
And then what you end up getting is, I would say, there is the center of excellence model, but then as they get pulled into each respective function, yeah, you've got sales, but you also have e-commerce sales, and you still have marketing, but you have digital marketing, and you end up getting this bifurcation across all these departments between traditional retail and e-commerce. And to get everybody on, it makes sense to say, hey, these are our goals for the year. Maybe it is, we want to grow in store. Okay, that changes my digital marketing, right? That changes my sampling program. It changes everything. Or, hey, we actually want to, break into 3 new marketplaces or whatever it is. can reshape everything.
But then you all have to work together, right?
Yeah.
E-commerce doesn't happen in a silo, right? Omnichannel doesn't happen in a silo. You need people from R&D, supply chain, sales, marketing, category management, shopper marketing, legal, finance, right? Like all of those people don't have shared goals across the board and they aren't incentivized. And that's really what it is. They're not incentivized to work together. So if you're not taking human nature of people being incentivized to get to their goals and applying it to your overall business strategy, you're not all going to achieve it.
So, but I mean, what we're talking about then is it has to come from executive board, CEO,
100%.
president level. It has to be pushed down that way for everybody to get on board and say, hey, this is what we need to hit. By the way, you don't get bonus the same if we don't hit this.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And
It's
then
human nature.
everybody will jump.
Right. I mean, what gets measured gets managed. It's like it's a saying for a reason. And what I thought was really interesting is 47% of people said that they do have shared goals. And that was higher than I expected. And it'll be interesting because I want to do this kind of year over year to see how that grows. But it is something people are focused on. But I would say it's one of the most important pieces because if every team is doing something different, it's just common sense. You're not going to reach your overall goals.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Even if you're somewhat going in the right direction, but you're not all pulling in the same direction.
Yeah. Okay. So then, oh gosh, there's 11. What should I pick? All right. On my third one that I'm going to pick is using AI to free up time for omnichannel thinking. So this whole reinvented org of the future, and I'll give you the link, Aaron, so you can share it with the listeners and they can read through it, is the idea that organizations in the next 5, 10, and beyond are going to be enabled by AI at different levels of maturity, right? And AI is a huge opportunity for brands to do more at scale. For anyone in e-commerce right now, I'm sure they're so jazzed about it because I remember when I ran an e-commerce team, I couldn't add 15 people, so I could only do content for so many SKUs. But with AI, you can actually create content. You can complete the data that you need for all of the SKUs that you haven't been able to touch. It actually enables you to get to a baseline where you have all of your SKUs with built out titles, the right images, video, below the fold content. Like it makes that world possible. But what it also does is it can free up time for existing roles, whether that's sales, marketing, e-commerce, to take away some of that kind of hands-on keyboard things. I think about like forecasting. You can use AI to automate a lot of forecasting, and that frees up a lot more mind share for those employees to think more strategically and to work more cross-functionally. So I'm not actually scared of AI. I'm excited about it because I think it will actually free up thinking to think bigger and more innovatively.
Yeah, the last couple, I love it. So there's a couple of things I want to pull on is
Yes.
minutes on mission. That's something that's
I
come
like
up in
that.
the last few podcasts that I've done when we're talking about AI. And if you think about it, using it to take care of the mind-numbing task, like how much time can you actually spend on the strategic, making the mission better? And not just doing the Excel spreadsheets or whatever it might be. So we did have 2 podcasts on Microsoft Copilot and using it because everybody's on Microsoft. But the other one was around just getting your data in order. Because I think one of the biggest things around AI is, and all these tools that have popped up, is every brand they go to, every company they go to has data in a different spot, in a different format. And so these AI tools right now are they struggle because every single new customer they get and they put on is a 6 to 9 month integration. And, you're bringing in IT resources, which are already stretched.
Bad data in, bad data out.
Yes, right.
I mean, core fundamentals. If you haven't fixed your data.
Standardization. The other
But Aaron, on that point, really quickly, what I struggle with kind of the shiny object syndrome, like I'm not calling AI a shiny object, but what I'm saying is a lot of brands have forgotten that they don't even have their data in place to be able to use AI, right? So like AI is moving at the speed of light, but what brands really need to focus on is getting the infrastructure set up to be able to use it when they're ready or when it is at a point where it can actually kind of replace jobs or do more than it can do now.
Did I connect you to Joe Lux over at Data Links and what he's doing?
I don't think so.
If not, right after we finish
let's do it.
podcast. So he is building I had him a few episodes ago. Tim Zawaslak, who is over at Jimmy Jazz, and then Con Air. He's a cool dude. He's connected me, and he's building basically an AI-driven platform that sits on your cloud infrastructure. So you have one point, and it will go in and pull out the data, standardize the data, and then any AI tool that comes in, you don't say, "Hey, connect into my network." You connect into his company data links, and it is that's currently holding all this AI back. That's what's holding most of the
100%.
AI back. I just say because everybody's data is everywhere, and a lot of it's garbage data.
They don't know where it is.
Yeah. The other cool thing around like performance that was very interesting is I was talking to Uday and Bose over at Net Elixir, and he, besides having his agency, he's a professor at NYU and Rutgers, I think, are the two places.
That's where I went.
Oh yeah,
let's go. Nice.
Yeah. And he was saying a lot of what they're talking about is actually interviews in the future. And it was very interesting that he brought up that you might be interviewed with your personal AI assistant. Like, how productive are you going to be if we bring you in? Because if they're interviewing 5 people and one of them has your own digital assistant that takes on all the menial tasks, and you're 5 times more comfortable with AI and tools and how to use it and prompt it and write code, or prompting it to write code, whatever it might be. He was saying that that's a real possibility. So that would be interesting.
That makes a ton of sense. But so I'm glad you said that, because in the report, I kind of build out what an AI enabled org of the future looks like. And the whole concept there is you have more orchestrators as the humans are the orchestrators. They're the strategic thinkers that can see across the board, and they're supported by agents. So think about someone like a brand manager, but call them a brand strategist. They might have an AI agent who does copywriting. They might have an AI agent who does briefing. They might have an AI agent that is doing user testing or consumer research. Then they have a data agent that's actually looking at all their data, combing through it, giving them insights, and telling them where they should focus their time. Now take that approach and apply it to all other teams. So think retail media. You have an activation strategist. So that's the person that's the person that's looking across the board, understanding omnichannel. They have a retail media agent. They might have a category management agent, understanding what's happening with the category. They have another data agent that's combing through all of that. An additional retail media agent that's actually doing the buying and pressing the button as they're setting the strategy for retail media. I mean, that's what I think the future looks like in terms of org structures, where you have these people that are strategic thinkers, understand the business from start to finish and the broader umbrella of omnichannel, but they're supported by AI agents, and that's how they're getting the work done.
Yeah. It will happen.
I agree. But you know what, Aaron, I think is the biggest flag is that I don't know if our talent is ready for that. And I don't know if we have enough talent to be able to get to that place. And what I mean by that is e-commerce is still relatively new, right? It's only been around for like 31 years or so, which is new compared to kind of brick and mortar. If you are going to have AI agents take away a lot of the hands-on keyboard work that maybe an analyst or someone right out of college, that's the kind of job they get. And that's how they get their hands-on learning and their experience. And that's how they get into their field. You take that away. How do you build the leader of tomorrow? How do they get that experience? What does that look like? I don't know the answer to this, but I really do think it's something that we need to start talking about, because if you don't have those people that you're grooming to be the commerce leaders of tomorrow, we're going to be kind of in the same challenge we have now, where some of our leaders are not digitally savvy because they weren't brought up in that. Right. Wow, Aaron's
my oldest,
I don't even know what to do.
In college, right? My oldest is a sophomore in college. He wants to be a business major. And I was like, what does that mean to you? He's like, I don't know. What does it mean to you? I'm like, I don't know. Like, you're in your sophomore year. You've got 3 years left. Like, I can't tell where it's going. I was like, just use AI every chance you can get.
Just learn how to prompt. Learn how to prompt. I've never seen you speechless, Aaron. This might be like a first.
I know. I just, I play in everything else. I get older now, like through my kids now. I was like, what are they going to do? Like, I don't, because you're like literally like, hey, what's going to happen to entry level? Ah.
So I do have hope though, because I think as we've seen from like history, right? And history repeats itself. When something like an AI, something that's this new and is just such a big change in the industry, it will create new jobs that we didn't even know needed to exist. So I do think there will be a bit of that, but the leadership, the development, the soft skills, like the orchestration piece, I'm not sure how we're going to continue to teach
I
that.
think we'll get to a golden era in like 10 years where the leadership that's in place, went through this digital transformation and this change, and it's amazing. And then hopefully they do find a way to pass it on. Otherwise, it's just going to precipitously just drop off.
Well, that's so one of the pieces of my research too is a really big call to action to the HR teams. You need to really understand, like, how are you recruiting for the commerce leader of the future? What does that look like? How are you changing your career path? I mean, I know from my traditional kind of brand background, I was kind of told, like, you have to get experience in every single function, and then you can be a generalist, and you might need to take a step back before you can take a step forward. And that's a very traditional way of thinking, which for many years worked so well. So I don't want to discount that, but that's not what the future really looks like.
The HR teams, I mean, when COVID hit and then we had all this demand for all of these e-commerce roles that they'd never interviewed for, right? Anybody that was in e-commerce was just inside the company by happenstance and got tasked with this, role again, sitting over in the corner, you're growing, there's some people doing it, but very few HR, people knew how to even hire the questions to ask. And then they're like, hire 8,000 digital experts and everybody on LinkedIn, updated their profile with digital in front of it. And they're like, how do I even sift through this? How do I have a conversation? So we went through this slug of anybody getting hired on the back end of it getting trimmed out where, okay, now we know who really knows their stuff and who doesn't. And then the backfill, I think a lot of pressure right now is we're not backfilling yet. Show us what you can do, augmenting your staff with AI, even if it's Copilot, if it's content generation is, I just ran across a company that can do video at scale. That's
what we talked about the other day, right?
Yeah. Crazy.
It's crazy. It is. And to your point about the HR teams, what's really interesting is around that time, I had a lot of HR teams reach out to me at the Digital Shelf Institute and say, can you come educate us? And it was actually quite interesting. I would go in and I would say, like, okay, these are the things you should be asking. Here's some acronyms that you need to understand. Like, and it was really fascinating because they also needed to quickly upskill. So I just think we're in a really interesting time, especially with the way brands are organizing, the way they need to think about the future. But I will leave you with a couple of things, Aaron. Let's paint a picture. Can we paint a picture?
Optimism, right? Let's go. The eternal optimist here.
Let's paint a picture of what a profitable omnichannel organization of the future looks like, right? Okay. Empowered, agile decision making. Like, you have to be able to make decisions on the fly. You cannot take 3 months to change something. Number one. Number two,
accepting failure.
Yes.
Has to be 100%. Along with that. Because if you're going to make decisions that fast, you're going to fail more often.
Yes.
But hopefully.
I had the opportunity to see Andy Jassy speak, and something he said really kind of struck me. And he said, the way that we measure our employees is how many times did you experiment and how many times did you fail? And that's a very different way of measuring, right? Like, if you think of traditional goals and objectives, it's like, you need to meet this number and you need to achieve these things. Not, I failed 5 times. Woohoo! You get your bonus, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, it's a shift. It's a shift in how you think about it. So great point. Second one, we already talked about shared goals, shared accountability. We are all in this together. We are all one company. Let's try and win. Third one, cross-functional alignment with one unified strategy. Not 6 different strategic goals, not different teams talking about different things. One strategy, cross-functional alignment. Consumer and customer centricity. So focus on the consumer. It's not about the beautiful ad that you spent so much time seeing in a conference room building. It's about what the consumer wants and how they want to shop. And then last but not least, data-driven. Data-driven. And the right data that's giving you the right insights that's telling you what you need to do next. That is my beautiful picture of an omnichannel org of the future.
And then we're gonna, when this hits, we will make sure to share with everybody, even in the LinkedIn post and everything.
Yeah, please.
The link, right?
Yeah.
So they can go through it.
And you can go to digitalshelfinstitute.org and just click on resources. And I think it's like the second thing there.
That is awesome. What are you most excited about?
Ooh, I'm most excited about the kind of org of the future. And like I said, what you can do now that AI exists. I just remember my brand days where I was like, I just need more people. It's too many hours to build out all this content. And now you can finally be at par. And then you can think about what is some new stuff I can do? Like how can I
can be strategic, right?
Yes. Yes. 100%. It's so exciting. Because I was preaching this for years before, but I just couldn't do it. And now like brands can actually achieve this at scale. It's exciting.
I was at so right after I left Perigo and I kicked this off, Scott Wingo asked if I would come talk at the Channel Advisor conference they had. And it was interesting because what I put together was a talk around basically the salespeople of the future in e-commerce. And that they were scientists and data scientists or engineers, all data driven. And people were like, what do you mean we're all going away? I'm like, traditional salespeople aren't going away, but in e-commerce, you can't like hold yourself to, I like that ad. It has to be, how did the ad perform?
Because it's pretty.
Yeah.
Or I spent $500,000 on it.
Yeah. And traditionally, like scientists, they fail so much. Like when I was at Pfizer, you fail all the time. You get used to failing. And knowing that, hey, as long as I learn something, I can go forward and feel good about it. And it's just very interesting. That's data. When you're talking about data, like I love data. That's exactly. That's why like one of our mutual funds, Megan Caroon at Clear Data, right?
I love Megan. We just chatted yesterday. Shout out to Megan at Clear Data.
Yes. She's awesome. Like
she's awesome.
Just data driven. Like just cut through all the crap. Just give me an answer.
Understanding the data, like, and really understanding the insights. I think AI is great at like being able to compile the data, clean the data to an extent, in the future probably better, but like get it all together in one place for you to still look at the insights. It can do some things around insights, but you still need someone who can see the business from start to finish from an omnichannel lens to really kind of pull all those pieces together. So I think it's really exciting where we are right now and what can be done. Yeah,
I think one of the most exciting things for me is that right now is the worst it's ever going to be. It's just a lot of people are like, oh, this or that. AI's not proving out how they want it to be, all that. Like, yeah, I get it. It's the worst it's ever going to be right now. Yeah. Think about how far they've come in a year.
I know. Lightning speed. But you know what, Aaron? Again, to our point, brands who are kind of waiting and they're like, oh, we don't want to play around with AI or we're not ready. Well, in the background, get your data right. Because when you are ready and you don't have a choice because your competitors are doing it, if you didn't work on this now, then you're going to be light years behind.
That's exactly it. That's why I was I mentioned Joe Lux. That's what he's doing. So if nothing else, go to Data Links and plug this guy in right now and have him on the background. That way, when you get comfortable with it, you can just hit go with everything. Exactly. In the meantime, because and then we can wrap this up. Maybe we have another one. It doesn't matter how much on your own data cleaning, standardization you're doing if you're doing it as a company of one, because that next AI tool will have to plug into you and you will be different than everybody else. And it will be 6 to 9 months before you're in. By the way, the CIO, the CTO, nobody wants that many connections directly into your network.
100%.
And so you have to have this hybrid layer in between, because it doesn't matter how clean you get it. Nobody has it stacked like you do. Nobody has it set up or stored. Nomenclature is different and everything. So I have a lot of companies like, oh, well, I've got it all organized. Now I'm going to plug in AI tools. I'm like, no, they're going to break. It literally was great.
But that also goes to this point about org structures. That changes the way you work, changes the way you think. It changes the way your team is structured. Like we are all talking about AI and it's exciting and I agree and I'm on board. But the amount of internal transformation that needs to happen for you to be an AI enabled organization is so much bigger than I think people think. People aren't even done transforming for e-commerce. And now you need to transform for AI.
Do you remember, like, this is 2015, 16, 17, 18, digital transformation consultancies were the rage.
It's such a buzzword. Digital.
Yeah, they were the rage. We're going to get in, we're going to go our digital transformation. And the problem is like, it's, in my mind, it's a digital evolution that never stops.
Yes, 100%.
And so the tough thing about that transformation, and which came back in, and I think they saw the hints of AI and how quickly it would change, but they go in and they put it, and then there'd be an end goal, and everybody thought, okay, we're there. Well, you're there, but there now is 5 years back. So
well, that's why 70% of transformations fail. That's a McKinsey stat, 70%. But it's exactly to that point, because there's no end. Like, we will always transform. We will always be transforming. But that, Aaron, in and of itself is the mindset shift that needs to happen at these organizations. It is not a brick and mortar world. It is not a 2 resets of the planogram every year world. It just does not exist. So if your organization is not ready for the pace of change, then you're going to get beat out by the competition. It's just, that's what it is.
Last question. You, me, and Todd Hasselfeld should do podcast.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
I would love that. That'd be awesome.
We should do like a 3-hour recording,
It would.
Break it up into 6-part series. Well, Lauren, this has been fantastic. And I knew we were going to go over, but we can always record another one at any point in time. But thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
And so blessed to have you part of the network. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks, everybody, for listening in.
Thank you.